Hey Flosstube, it's Kim back again with my weekly Flosstube update. A little late this time. It is Wednesday morning, about 8:30 in the morning on 13 November 2019. This is Flosstube number 42. I am back in town from our long weekend away in Michigan. So let me talk about my stitching first. So before I left, I was going to try to get three tasks and a bonus done on Kindred Spirits for last week's homework in the School of Magical Stitches and Literature. So I was doing it for the longest piece that you haven't touched, the piece that's gone the longest without being worked on, a piece that would be the cover of your biography, and a piece where you could hear the sound when you looked at it, and also had the letters RAB in the title or designer. I didn't get to the bonus. I got 3 out of 4 done. So I got 1,200 tent stitches done on Kindred Spirits before we left. I just had too much to do to get ready for the trip and didn't have enough time to get all 1,600 tent stitches done. But I'm still happy with where I got to. They're all very light colors, so it's going to be hard to see. Make sure it's focused. There you go. Can you see his 1,200 tent stitches on that page? Brand new page. I did the biggest areas of color to try to get it done the quickest. So there's 1,200 tent stitches on that. And then I took 3 pieces with me when we went. I took 2 smalls plus my 90-day piece. The first small was for one of the tasks in homework, which was a piece with repeated patterns because of the 7 potters taking a polyjuice potion to get Harry out of Privet Drive and to a safe place. So I chose Friendship Compass because it is a mandala design. I also worked on it Monday, so once the new week started, for this week's homework, and the task I used that for was something that you would put in your bag to survive the elements after you learned the extendable bag charm that Hermione did. And so I thought, compass, everyone needs a compass if they're going out in the wilderness to survive. So I did 300 for that task, 200 for the repeat patterns, so that's 500. And I almost have that outer green border done. It's in that 2 different shades of green, so that's why you see piecemeal as I was using up colors. I could finish that in like an hour and then start the beading. So the beading will be fun. Again, this is a piece that is a freebie on Glendon Place Stitchers Facebook group. You choose your own colors. The darker the symbol, the darker the color should be. And then you choose your own beads as well. And I chose these colors to match the quilt that is on the guest bed that the camera is on right now. I hope to, at least when this is done, I'll when I post the finished picture on Instagram, I'll have it sitting on the bed so you can see the different colors and fabrics on the quilt. So we're getting closer to a finish on that one. And then I also took Hogwarts travel poster with me for the task, a piece that's closest to a finish. Again, you didn't have to count specifically, just eyeball what's closest to a finish. So I put in 400 tent stitches on this one. And I did the darker gray in here and then filled in more of this around the hillside. I used 932 and that darker gray, so that was 400. This piece has a lot more stitches than you think left in it. I just keep whittling away doing different homework tasks. So we'll get that finished this year as well. And then I took Trick or Treat with me as my 90-day challenge piece in Full Coverage Fanatics. I took this off my quantum frame and I stitched in hand, or rather in my lap. So kind of how if you watch Sarah Stitchin' Mommy's videos, how she rolls up that bottom edge and holds it in her hand. I rolled both the top and the bottom, so the only part exposed was the area I was working on, and then I just kind of let it lay in my lap. And I usually, when I'm stitching, I have one leg tucked under me, so that creates, you know, between my legs creates a space for my dominant hand to go underneath, and then I could still stitch two-handed in my lap with the fabric just sitting on my legs. Depending on which way I was traveling doing my continental tent stitch, I was able to use the sewing method at times, as it was going the same direction that made the most sense to my brain. I didn't use it all the time just because doing extreme cross country and doing the sewing method, I didn't want to keep pinching the fabric. It was too slow for me to figure it out. Now I know if the sewing method is your usual method, it probably wouldn't have been a problem for you, but it was just the mental challenge of talking with family and trying to stitch at the same time. I did what worked best for me, easiest. I told you those two middle pages. So I was on these middle pages on the stairs. There isn't much black there. You see there's a black... Where am I? It's hard to see in the picture because it's printed. But above the boy with the top hat, there's a cat sitting on the stairs. Right there. It's really hard to see. And then there's stairs going across, and then this work in the door. So I got those two pages done, and I started the next page. So there you go. Now you can see the cat really clearly, can't you? Right above the little boy. And you see more in the stairs and the little carved bits of the doorway. And then I started on this page, taking the shrub up. And I'm almost ready to start on the railing on this side, the porch railing. So I currently have, in the 90-day challenge, 12,700 tent stitches done on this piece. I finished the extra credit task for a piece with the light source because of all the because the moon and the light in all the windows. So now I have to find a new task for this one, whether it's on an extreme task or extra credit. I'll find a new task for this one so I can count my stitches towards that. I just wanted to get my video in since I'm late this week and I haven't figured out which task I'm going to use it for. So this week for homework, there are 4 different tasks and a bonus. I wasn't on the homework council, video chat we do every week like I usually am because I was out of town. So I'm going to be reading my notes to remember what everything was. The first task is Dumbledore's will, where he bequeathed items to the 3 main characters. So work on a piece where the chart was given to you, and Vicky has also approved skeins of floss that were given to you if you include it in the picture. So Friends Forever by Ann Stokes is also my by the numbers 1200 piece for this month, so I need to get working on it. I haven't touched it yet. And this chart was given to me by Jessie Marie. I won it in a rack that she did in the Hey Facebook group. So I'll put in, I think it's 300 stitches per task at this time, so 610 stitches on that one. Skeletons in the closet, because Dumbledore kept a lot of secrets. Either explain how a piece demonstrates your secrets or skeletons in your closet, or work on an actual skeleton on the actual person. So I am going to work on the beast because I am on the page on the beast. So I'll put in 10 stitches on him. And then I talked about something to put in your bag to survive for the extendable bag charm. That will be, I got that done with Friendship Compass. And then the trio learned that the real locket is missing. So stitched on a piece that would be a family heirloom. Again, because I need to work on this for Full Coverage Fanatics by the Numbers. This, when it's done, certainly I believe will be an heirloom. My whole family loves dragons, and it's going to take me years to get it done. So that creates family heirloom. So I'll work on Friends Forever again. And then the bonus is because of Tonks and Lupin having a baby, stitch on a piece that has something for the baby. I haven't figured that one out yet. I have to look more into it. And I will keep, this week, I'll probably keep working on Friends Forever to get that by the numbers done for Full Coverage Fanatics. I did go to the LNS in Saginaw, Michigan, which is Stitch in Time. And believe it or not, they've been in business for over 30 years in 2 different locations in Saginaw, but I never knew until a couple years ago that they were there. And because I so rarely travel back home with my girls, usually my parents come out to us. This was my first chance in visiting their shop, and it was wonderful. I spent an hour and a half there. I could have spent longer, but I felt bad that my parents were watching my girls, and it was lunchtime, and so I had to get home. But I spoke at length with Mark. He's one of the shop owners with his wife, Colette. They're wonderful people. Great sense of humor. I loved, looking around their shop, digging in everything to see, because it's like a treasure hunt, trying to find out what you want. I spent under $100, and I bought some things for myself and some things for friends. I had a really good time. Mark and I talked about Flosstube. We talked about Instagram and just how the evolution of cross stitch and how it's trying to make a comeback. So that was a good time. Some of the things I bought for myself, the Just Cross Stitch Christmas ornaments, 1997 to 2013. I have the later years in actual magazines, but I don't have, the late 90s or early 2000s. So I thought this was a really good buy. I'm looking forward to opening it and putting it on my computer and seeing all the different fun ornaments. To stitch some ornaments. Merry Christmas, My Dear by Country Cottage Needleworks. That's a fun little easy Christmas design. I really like the Ink Circles mandalas. Most of them are the Roll Your Own series. But this is another one they had in their shop called Lichen. And this is another one where you can choose your own colors. So there's different examples of how the design looks completely different depending on the colors that you choose. And it's only 89 squared. So it's not terribly huge. And you could do it 4 times, for one for each season, or you could pick holiday colors, Halloween or Christmas, Easter, pastels, or colors for the room that you want it to be in. So really cool piece. I got some mail from Juliet Reflections. I have ordered the Chalk Fold series from Hands On Design from her. I already had the sunflowers, and she sent me the next 2. Her family hasn't been healthy, so she was a little behind in sending them. So I have Boo and Mary. I don't know if I'll stitch the bigger pieces on these ones, but I like the smalls. So those would be cute for some smalls, be it for myself or as gifts. And then the other thing I got from Julie is a new scissor fob. She makes these herself, and I told her the color beads that I like, and she sent me a few pictures, and I picked one out. And this is like a steampunk frog with green beads, and that was $10. So really decent price on a very cute fob. So it was from Julie. I got some other charts from Stitch in Time that I'll be sending to my friends, so I won't show you those because I don't want to ruin their surprise. All right, that's all for the stitching. Time for a couple of stories. One from my husband and one from a deployment story of mine. First of all, my husband this past week, he had to participate in a 10K fun run, relay race, and on the deployed base, and each shop or each squadron had their own relay team. And now he works in the safety shop on the base. So think all things safety, flight safety, weapon safety, ground safety. And they didn't win the race, but they won an award for the most creative baton. So what they used for their baton is they printed a picture of scissors, they put it on some cardboard, then put bubble wrap around it, so the safety shop was running with scissors, which I thought was really, really funny. Just really entertaining piece to try to, lighten up the days over there and create some unit camaraderie as the fun run. He also got to experience rain in the desert for the first time. This past week, they got between 2/10 and 3/10 of an inch of rain. So we're talking barely any. And he said the base was flooded. Now, I experienced this myself when I was there 13 years ago. And the reason is because all that sand, because this base has been there for so long, it's packed down. It's really, really hard. It's not like walking through sand dunes. Just because all the traffic over many, many years. Like I said, I was there 13 years ago and I experienced the same problem at that time. So the rain had nowhere to go but to create puddles and flood the base. Which brings me to the picture that I chose as the thumbnail for this video. Like I said, back when I was there 13 years ago, it was about the same time. I was there January through part of May. So that's when they get some of their precipitation, and the rain has nowhere to go, so it creates puddles. And aircraft maintainers like to joke around, they like to have fun, and come up with stupid little things when they're bored. So one of the things that my troops did that I got involved with, because I was just a lieutenant looking to fill my day with entertainment as well, is we went fishing. So our unit building was right off the flight line, right next to an active taxiway, because we had to cross the taxiway to get to where our jets were parked. And so all different kinds of airplanes went down that taxiway to access the parking ramp. If you think about an airport, they went right past our building to get to the spot where they park. Well, right before you cross the taxiway, there's just some sand and a huge puddle formed there. So, okay, everybody has to drive by, and my, I think it was the supply troops who sit in that building and are just there to issue out parts to the maintainers. They took a broomstick handle, just the handle. They tied a piece of string to it. Then they created a ball out of masking tape, attached that to the end of the string. They had some coolers and some folding chairs. Took all that out to the puddle and sat there and made it look like they were actually fishing as the airplanes taxied by. Now, our guys, our F-15E guys, thought it was hilarious. You could tell they were laughing and cheering in their cockpits as they drove by. They also would raise their speed brake, which is the piece of metal, if I get the picture right, the piece of metal that you see raised up like this behind the cockpit. That's their speed brake, a way of them slowing down after they land. But the heavy aircraft like the C-17s, they would taxi by and they just kind of stare at us like, what in the world are you guys doing? But the fighter guys, being of the same immature, let's have fun all the time mentality, thought it was great. Another thing we did the next day in that same puddle is they took two of your regular 20-ounce water bottles, emptied them, used them as pontoons, and created a little miniature sailboat to float in the puddle. So they used the water bottles as pontoons, some like big popsicle stick type things to connect them together, and then a plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag, with another stick as a sail. And it was sailing around the big puddle next to the taxiway. Far enough away it wouldn't be a danger to our jets. We call that FOD, foreign object damage. It wouldn't be a danger to being sucked up by our jets and ingested by the engine. So just a fun little thing, and it just floated around the puddle for a day. So just little things that we do to entertain ourselves and keep things fresh while we're on deployment. So there's your deployment story for the day. The trip went really well with the girls. They love to fly. We actually got more snow in Michigan than we did here in North Dakota while we were gone. I did not have to scrape off my car yesterday when we got back to the airport. There was no snow on my car. Versus when we left Detroit, Monday into Tuesday early morning, got about a foot of snow. So it was a little hairy driving down to Detroit on Monday through the snow. We started out going 55 miles an hour in a 70 mile an hour interstate, and then kept getting slower and slower and slower until we were going 40 miles an hour when the speed limit was 70. And that's just because it was hard. The roads were the interstate was snowy and slushy, and we still saw cars that had driven off the road into the ditch. We saw a truck that was on its side. We saw a semi way over here where he shouldn't have been. So he had probably avoided an accident and got to where he couldn't get out. And we saw another pretty big hit between two cars. Everyone was okay. So it's one of those instances where you slow down so that you have the time to stop or react and get out of the way if there is an accident. And then the big fight was getting your windshield wipers to actually work and not build up ice as they're, wiping away the snow that's still falling. But we got through it. We saw lots of family. Everybody loves seeing us. We love seeing them, and the girls met some of the family they haven't met before. Yeah. And my cousin's child at the U of M Children's Hospital is doing really well. So she is slowly getting weaned off her medication and starting to eat in blocks through her feeding tube instead of constant breast milk and formula going in. So she's learning how to eat, although she's 5 weeks old and has never really eaten through her mouth. And so now the fight is to get her to suck and keep sucking so that she can eat food normally instead of using the NG tube. But right now she'll suck, and if she gets something out of a bottle, she immediately backs off because she's never experienced that before. But she can be released from the hospital with the NG tube. So they're weaning her off the medications slowly to get to that point. So I hope everybody has a good stitching week. I will see you again on Monday, back to the normal schedule. And yeah, there's nothing else going on. All right, guys. We'll see you later. Bye.